you're lukewarm, I'm going to regurgitate you out of my mouth. I'm going to throw you up. Let me bring it home. I'm going to puke you up out of my mouth because you are lukewarm. So when we look at the history of the church, and I got about 10 more minutes. When we look at the history of the church, Israel was always doing good for a while. They would stray away, and God would punish them and restore them back to him. They went in a cycle like that. God would discipline them, and he would restore them. So our best strategy as far as moving away from it is not to move away from God. Our best strategy is to draw near to God. The Bible tells us in James 4:8, draw nigh to God, and he will draw nigh to you. It's time for the church to take a stand. It's time for the church to get closer to God. It's time for the church to stand for holiness. John P. Key put out a song said, stand for holiness, stand for righteousness. It's time for the church as never before to become bold soldiers. Paul says in Ephesians 6:10, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. What did he tell us to? He told us to put on the whole arm of God. In other words, get ready to fight. Dress to fight. Be prepared to fight the devil. And you cannot fight the devil in the natural. You can't fight him with a 9mm. You can't fight him with a baseball bat. You can't fight him with a .357 Magnum. For the weapons of our warfare not carnal, but mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds.
Yes.
We have to fight. It's a spiritual battle.
Jesus.
Hallelujah. And it begins in your mind. Your mind, if you don't watch yourself, the devil will have your mind so clouded with the things of this world until, brothers and sisters, you'll find yourself going more toward the enemy. You'll find yourself being more in the devil's camp rather than being on the Lord's side. And you know, it's time for us to take a stand. When we see people that are straying away from our churches that have changed from the truth. You know, I noticed some years ago, some people left an apostolic church and they went back to the church of the first refrigerator and felt just as comfortable as they was in their church. I told them there's something wrong with that picture. If I go back to the church I came from, I wouldn't fit in. I'm too noisy to go back there. I'm too loud to go back there.
Jesus.
I dance too much to go back there.
Hallelujah.
Too much
Yes,
to go
Lord.
back there.
Yes.
We've got to be more determined to stand up for the truth. Yes, there has been changes, but God does not change. The Bible tells us to remember the old path.
Jesus.
And when you find them, seek ye the old path. When you find them, walk there. In other words, go back to what got you to where you are. David said, if the foundation be destroyed, what will the righteous do? If we destroy the foundation of holiness, our church will be just like anybody else. Now, what the world is trying to do, according to end time prophets, they're trying to get us as one church. One church in 1 billion locations. They want us all to preach the same thing, agree on the same thing. Which means that's why you hear people saying now that you don't have to have the name of Jesus to be saved. You've got apostolics saying that you don't have to be baptized in the name of Jesus. That's crazy. That's a lie from the pit of hell. One Pentecostal pastor told me, you don't have to be baptized at all to be saved.
Not Pentecostal.
He said you don't even have to have the Holy Ghost to be saved. I'm talking about a Pentecostal preacher.
Come on now.
I asked him, when the Lord said, come my people, if you don't have that connection sense on the inside, how you going to hear him when he said, come on? You've got to have that connection. So when we look at change, change is good when it comes to going higher in God. That's some changes all of us need to make. Help me, somebody.
Amen.
When you examine yourself, there are some changes all of us need to make.
Amen.
Because Bishop was saying this week, even though we are in this flesh, there are still things we have a propensity to do the same thing as those folks that out there in the street drinking. It's in us. An old Indian said he talked about two dogs, and me got two dogs in me. So which one is the baddest? The one me feed, that's the one.
Jesus.
The one that you feed, that's the toughest one. So therefore, we must kill the flesh. The Bible tells us to mortify it, crucify it. We must kill the flesh. The Bible says, you sow to the flesh, you know the flesh will be corruption. The flesh will destroy you. Some people feel just because they speak in tongues, jump and shout, scream and holler, that everything is all right. But you still got to deal with that flesh. You still got to deal with that evil flesh. Your flesh will carry you to hell.